You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Senator Risa Ontiveros echoes previous House resolutions urging the Marcos administration to assist in the investigation of the International Criminal Court into the drug war of former President Rodrigo Duterte. Duterte's allies in the Senate undermined the resolution. Senator Amy Marcos accuses Ontiveros of stirring trouble with unimportant issues, while Senator Bato de la Rosa, who's among the co-accused for his role as PNP chief during the bloody drug war, believes it will not gain support in the Senate even at the committee level. Our source today, National Union of People's Lawyers in NCR, Secretary General and ICC Assistant to Counsel, Kristina Conti. Good morning, Attorney Kristina Conti.
Yes, good morning.
First of all, your thoughts on the House resolution, and now it has reached the Senate. There's a Senate resolution urging the government to cooperate with the ICC. Your thoughts?
Of course, very welcome. Any cooperation with the ICC investigation is very important to families of victims of the war on drugs because it will ultimately lead to truth and accountability. So the efforts from the legislative is timely, especially now that, as we see, it's just the executive that's left hanging and uncooperative with the ICC. Even the judiciary, we must note that, with the decision in Pangilinan versus Cayetano, their position is that we still have residual obligations from the ICC, from our membership there. And therefore, it's just really up to the president to say, sige na nga, let's cooperate with the ICC investigation.
But what kind of impact will these resolutions have to the ICC probe? Meron po ba?
Well, it could be two ways. One, it could lead towards, or it could push the executive to formally declare its cooperation with the ICC and later on that. But with regards to the legislative, they can also separately commit to cooperate with the ICC investigation, whether the senators in their individual capacities or the Senate as a whole. In fact, agencies of the government, may be asked by the ICC to cooperate with it for documents, for interviews. And as far as we know, the president has said he will not cooperate. But I don't know how binding his decision or his orders will be on senators who derive their authority, their mandate from the people.
Well, let's go to the latest statement of President Bongbong Marcos. He said the government is studying the possibility of rejoining the ICC. Do you think this can be done easily?
Of course, we support rejoining the ICC again, but of course, it would have prospective application, meaning from the time that we rejoin, that would be the signal. From that date on, our cooperation would be more formal, would be required by the Rome Statute. It will impact, if ever, crimes that will be committed in the future or thereafter from the time we rejoin. But as to the existing investigation that is now pending or being conducted by the Office of the Prosecutor, well, I would say it would have no material impact. This is with the investigation. But I would see during trial, if after investigation there are Filipino nationals identified as people to be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, then the membership in the ICC will allow the member state to execute decisions of the ICC. For example, executing a warrant of arrest or holding people or accused or convicted in detention eventually. So these obligations of member states will take effect as soon as we rejoin the ICC.
Yes, so you mean rejoining the ICC means we are now required to cooperate in the probe?
Not exactly. We are obliged already to cooperate with the probe because we have because we were members before of the ICC. But with regard to other aspects of any decision or proceedings during trial, as member state of the ICC can execute important matters, for example, issuance and execution of a warrant of arrest and
Yes.
taking into custody a convicted detainee. So only member states can do that. And that is what we cannot do right now. Right now, we are still required, even if we are no longer members of the ICC, to cooperate. But
Okay.
I see your point that being a member of the ICC will really formalize all cooperation, whether judicial, legislative, and even executive, with the court.
All right. Well, have you spoken with the families of drug war victims? What do they think about these moves?
They see it really as politics. If you look at people who are speaking out against the cooperation with the ICC, they see them as the people who would likely be covered by an investigation. And this was admitted by Senator Bato de la Rosa. Pinersonal niya kasi alam niya siya ang iimbestigahan. Even Vice President Sara Duterte could come within the scope of the probe because of her position as mayor and vice mayor of Davao between 2011 and 2016. So they see this as politics and self-preservation. In the end, what they really want is what is happening. Why are we addressing again issues of jurisdiction when the ICC has already decided to proceed with the investigation? In any case, they welcome any development or any discussion into the ICC because it opens the issues, the underlying issues of were there really crimes against humanity committed in the Philippines and who should be held to account.
Right.
Even if we're just talking about the ICC and jurisdiction and so forth, I mean, if you look at things, the bottom line is, where is the justice for the victims?
Okay, we have lots more to talk about, but we have to take a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Our source today, National Union of People's Lawyers-NCR Secretary General and ICC Assistant to Counsel, Kristina Conti. Attorney Kristina, now let's talk about rejoining the ICC. Does it need Senate concurrence? Senator Bato de la Rosa says, kailangan nito, but Senate President Mig Zubiri says, only President Marcos can make the decision. Take us through the process, Attorney, of rejoining the ICC.
When we joined the ICC, it was signed by the President of the Philippines and eventually concurred in by the Senate, 2/3 vote, because it is treated or is considered as a treaty. Therefore, that is why it requires Senate concurrence under our Constitution. When we withdrew from the ICC, it was only the President who withdrew and signed the declaration. Now, there's 2 points to this, but I would tend to agree with Senator Bato because the ICC has already accepted our withdrawal from the court. We would have to rejoin again and thereby bind ourselves again to this treaty, for which we would need Senate concurrence again. But earlier today, Senator Drilon, the former Senate President, says that the first option of just rescinding the decision of the President, former President Duterte, could work. I have yet to look into that, no? But I mean, you would have one president rescinding the decision of a former president. I would have to see if the Supreme Court will stand by that. But rejoining the ICC is an important issue again with regard to obligations that we could or we are not beholden as of now, such as execution or implementation of a warrant of arrest. Meaning, right now, even if there will be as accused persons identified to stand trial for crimes against humanity in the Philippines, if no one will arrest them and take them to The Hague for trial, the case won't proceed. And so taking them into custody will require the police of a member state to do that.
Attorney, any communication from the ICC? Do you have an update on the progress of the probe?
It is confidential so far, but I do understand that the ICC is processing information that it has already received prior to the opening of the investigation. And it is processing information that has come in after it has declared the opening of the investigation. This involves testimonial and documentary evidence, some of which we have submitted to the court ourselves. They are processing this information and will get back to us shortly regarding their findings.
Very quickly, Attorney, Senator Amy Marcos calls the move of rejoining the ICC as malaking kahihiyan. Ang sabi po niya, hindi raw ito priority. It is unimportant at hindi napapanahon considering the many problems we have. Your reaction?
Naku, nakakalungkot yung ganyang premise. At ako, medyo, kung magiging malisyosa ka, no? It is self-preservation, self-interest again. Because the ICC was created precisely to target despots, tyrants, mass murderers, war criminals. And isn't this as important as any other issue? Rejoining the ICC might look like it's not important now. Kumbaga, malayo sa bituka, hindi tayo mapapakain. But it has devastating effects on our system. If the ICC could supplement our legal systems with effective mechanisms for the gravest crimes against humanity, then perhaps it's a better world. So I hope she doesn't brush aside this issue just because it isn't to her liking at this moment.
All right, thank you so much for your time this morning. NUPL in NCR Secretary General and ICC Assistant to Counsel Kristina Conti. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Mai Rodriguez. You're watching CNN Philippines.